Hey, it's the Atari viewer here. That's right, I learned how to pronounce my own name. Ain't I special? Now, I know I said I wasn't going to review another game until I got a better camera, but I got to thinking about it, and I came to one inescapable conclusion. So, here I am, going to review another game. If you got a problem with my skippy frame rate, then just pretend that you're watching this on an actual Atari 8-bit computer, and it might help. Here, I'll help you out with it.
There, isn't that better? Now I am just like the games I review.
Oh, sorry. That seems to come out of me whenever I go all pixelated. I don't know why. Kind of strange. Anyway, since my last review about Drelbs, I've been informed that there's an actual ending to that game. Not only is there an ending, but apparently it explains the mystery of that kissy girl that showed up and you're like, what is this kissy girl here? So, let's take a look at it, shall we? Crumb cake. Oh, sorry. That sure explained everything. That was great. Good Gorgolite. That didn't actually explain anything. Now you've chewed up a whole minute of my completely unrelated review. Stay classy, Drelbs. Moving on. Today I'd like to discuss something terrible. Licensed games. It's a hard and fast rule that licensed games are never any good, ever. No exceptions. Except the following exceptions. This was especially true in the early 80s, before the video game crash of 1983 that killed the industry for quite a few years. Video games were all the rage, and they were cheap to make if you didn't care about quality or anything. And even companies that had nothing to do with video games still had their own programming departments to provide a quick cash-in game to shill whatever product they were actually trying to sell. Even Quaker Oats had a gaming division at one point. Seriously, what were their games about? Was it Wilford Brimley fighting off his diabetes? I don't know. But basically, all of these games were horrible. To the point where one of them became infamous for nearly killing off video games for good. Stay classy, Spielberg. This brings us to the subject of today's review, BC's Quest for Tires, based on the comic strip BC. BC was created in 1958 by Johnny Hart, and although it was mainly just a gag-a-day comic, it was still groundbreaking in the fact that it was one of the first strips to contain anachronistic modern elements in the Stone Age. Boy, that was a fad that never caught on. Since everyone and their dog were licensing games in the early 80s, people figured, hey, this comic strip's been around for 30 years, let's make a few bucks off it. Why not? So BC's Quest for Tires was born. The title itself, keeping with the strip's tendency to make nonsensical puns, was based on the contemporary movie Quest for Fire, which is some French film I've never actually heard of, but I guess it has to do with fire. The game was developed by Sydney, whoever they were, and published by... Wait, does that say Sierra Online? As in, the adventure game guys? I guess this game needs a new title sequence. Yes, before Sierra made it big with King's Quest, it had a hand in publishing some licensed games, including this one. Kind of unexpected, but back in those days, a lot of third-party gaming companies were brand new and producing whatever they could just to keep afloat. It's kind of interesting to look back and see what types of games the now big-name companies were producing. From Sierra publishing this side-scroller, to Activision making a game about a bomb-dropping hamburglar, to EA Games making licensed sports games. Well, I guess some things never change. In any case, after showing off the high score list, the game starts off with, hello, some intro time would be appreciated, thank you. Get used to these jump cuts, fellas. The game loves them. So, for the first part, you're jumping over holes, some of which are filled with, I don't know, lemons, I guess? This doesn't last too long, as an abrupt graphics change signifies we're now in the woods, jumping logs and ducking under whatever is hanging on those trees. Seriously, what is that, a hot pad? I don't know. Soon the forest suddenly vanishes into nothingness, probably due to global warming. BC? I can make the anachronistic jokes about cavemen too. Give me a medal. Whatever. Here you run into your first real obstacle, the Fat Broad. No, seriously, her official name in the comic strip is the Fat Broad. This is as good as time as any to explain the actual story behind this game. You're playing as Thor, a self-proclaimed ladies' man who apparently invented the wheel. The person yelling, "Help, help," off the side of the screen is the cute chick, who Thor must rescue from the clutches of an evil dinosaur. And no, I'm not making that name up either. She is the cute chick. Apparently, Johnny Hart, in a casual misogyny is hilarious moment, decided to name the female human characters in his strip after the two crudest stereotypes imaginable. The shrew and the bimbo. Stay classy, Johnny. Anyway, the Fat Broad is attempting to club Thor, but whether it's out of jealousy or just to simply drag him back to her cave for the night is never made explicit. Thankfully. Fortunately, with some well-timed jumps on some turtles, Thor makes it past her and starts climbing a hill. Now, instead of just contending with stationary lemons, he has to deal with rolling limes. For some reason, this is just making me thirsty. Upon reaching the top, in flies another oddly named character, the Dookie Bird. This bird's stronger than it looks, as its job is to carry you over this giant vat of orange Kool-Aid. If you're not lined up with the bird when you jump, though, cartoon physics. Then it's down a hill, seems pretty easy. You know, you get to the bottom and, hey, what's this? A lake? Do I jump over this? No, that didn't work. Turns out there's an as-of-yet unused game mechanic. Hold down your button, push forward on the joystick, and you start speeding up. You have to hit up to 80 miles an hour to make the jump successfully. Don't celebrate too quickly, however, as immediately after the jump, a Technicolor volcano erupts and starts raining rocks down on you, and if you're going too fast, it's nearly impossible to avoid them. Soon you come to another row of turtles and... Look out, Thor! It's a poisonous snake! Actually, it's the dinosaur that kidnapped your girl, I think, but he's easy enough to avoid with the right timing. And once you've passed him, you're into the cave, the last stage of the journey. It's pretty easy, jumping over stalagmites, ducking under stalactites, nothing too difficult. Oh, I guess the game's over now. Didn't like that cave anyway. Good job, Thor. Have a heart. The game just repeats at this point, with Thor moving faster, but that's pretty much BC's quest for tires. As an irrelevant side note, I had a really screwed up copy of this game when I was growing up. The high score list was a mess, and there were a few weird graphical glitches too, the main one being... Ugh. That'll leave a mark. Seriously, contact with anything will just make your brain explode. And it's not just when you die. Look what the Dookie Bird did to that poor guy. The Dookie Bird! You can hear him crying loud all the way across the town. Though it does make the ending make more sense. You know, I've seen guys' heads do this when girls flirt with them. I really liked this game when I was a kid. In fact, when I was in 2nd grade, I made a little a drawing about it. You can see kind of see Thor there and the background and a giant lemon there in the foreground. So obviously it has some merit, at least for 2nd graders. But does it hold up today? Well, that's where things get a little iffy. The graphics are appropriately cartoony, the gameplay is fairly creative, and they even had some parallax scrolling, which was pretty rare for the time. But the main problem with this game is its length. It is at the perfect wrong length for a good game. It feels way too short, but at the same time it's long enough to feel short, if you know what I mean. I mean, contrast this with games like Pac-Man, which is way shorter, but is a type of game that you want to repeat. Instead of seeming short, it seems like it doesn't end. This game ends just too soon. If you play it once, you've played it, pretty much. So, the recommendation I give BC's Quest for Tires is a hearty Well, that's it for BC's Quest for Tires. Keep an eye out for my next review, where I will be taking a look at Pitfall 2, the Adventurer's Edition. Man, I was a nerd, even for a 2nd grader. Well, I'm the Atari viewer. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go shopping for a new camera. They cost how much?